Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to talk about Parasol Stars.
Oh man.
Are you much of an umbrella user?
I never use an umbrella.
Really?
Ever. Because I don't like to have to carry one. I just get wet. Or sometimes I'll wear a hat.
Really?
Because when it rains, and you know this, no hair and rain, not good.
Yeah,
it's a bad
it's the
time,
worst,
isn't it?
yeah.
And the thing is, you got no hair, so the water just right down in your face.
Yep.
Much
And
like when you
can't see.
sweat.
You're stumbling around. It's a bad scene.
Why don't we carry umbrellas? We're idiots.
I do carry an umbrella. That's
You
the difference
do?
between
Well,
you and I.
you're more proper.
Well, when you dress like this.
Yeah.
You
See,
can
when I
get
dress
away
like
with it.
this, no one cares if I come in soaking wet.
You got a good rain hat, though?
Well, I do have a decent hat.
Deer stalker?
No, I wish. I remember those hats you could get that just like wear an umbrella?
Yeah. Yeah. Where do those go?
They need a combination of that with the beer thing that you can hang. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The double?
And possibly a Groucho Marx mustache.
Yeah,
for him.
and maybe something to hold nachos. By God, I'd buy a set of those right now. Do you really carry an umbrella around
I do.
all the time?
I carry it in the car.
But I mean, that's you don't walk around like like one of the Avengers.
Like a 19th century gentleman? No, I don't.
You dress like one. That's why I thought maybe you did. I didn't know.
I do have an umbrella that also has a sword in it that I take out.
Really?
That would be great. No, I don't. I wish I did.
My dad's got a sword cane. I don't think he's got a sword umbrella.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Or like the thing the penguin had that has the gas that
It's
comes
got
out of it.
that thing does. It can fly.
It does everything.
Of course, you'd have to wear the top hat and stuff too. And the cigarillo extender.
I'd love to wear a top hat. When are those coming back?
You could pull that off, Boat. I think you're more of a derby gentleman.
That's true. That's true.
Or something that
Or a
fits your
derby,
Southern dandy
as they say in
moniker.
England. Yes.
They call it Darbies?
Well, that's the name of the town is Derby in England, even though they spell like Derby.
Huh. So but that's not where the Derby came from, is it?
It's a good question. It's a question I don't know the answer to.
We shouldn't talk about history here. We're dumb.
Let's talk about Parasol Stars. Nice work. All right, Aaron. Parasol Stars.
Yeah.
The story of Bubble Bobble 3.
Is that the story? This story's convoluted weird, Boat.
You know, this happens a lot in Japanese games where they say blah blah blah, the story of blah blah blah.
Yeah, I stuck that in there, but it was a lot of typing. I was like, what is this? I've never heard anybody say that part.
Yeah. You don't often hear that. In fact, the European releases of this game, I believe, was actually known as Rainbow Islands 2.
Better name.
Because that was the bigger hit.
Yeah.
Coming off the heels. So this is the third rendition of the immortal Taito classic. The first two games being Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands.
Can you, before we get too deep into this,
man.
Is there some sort of continual story that arches across these games? I don't understand what's going on.
I will tell you exactly what
beautiful.
it is.
Outstanding. But.
So this game was released by Taito in 1991. Taito, if you will.
Yeah.
Taito. The game features Bubby and Bobby, the human forms of Bub and Bob from Bubble Bobble.
Okay.
So you play Bubble Bobble, you're not playing humans, you're playing as dinosaurs. Well, guess what? Those dinosaurs were actually humans.
Oh, okay.
And guess what? When they turned back into humans, their names got dumber. Okay.
So they actually took on different names.
Yeah, when they were dinosaurs, it was Bub and Bob.
Yeah.
They just added the E at the end. So you got Bubby, which nobody wants to be called Bubby.
No.
That's no good. Bobby's okay.
It's sort of like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like when they switched personas or wrestling. Okay, I got it.
Exactly. So this game it's a single screen platformer. You play as Bub or Bob. And you use a magic parasol to defeat enemies and collect items across a whole galaxy or solar system full of worlds.
Yeah, weird worlds.
Yeah, so I would say that this game combines elements of Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands together. This game was developed, as I said, by Taito for the PC Engine, for the TurboGrafx-16 first. And then it was later ported to all the other systems by Ocean, Manchester's own Ocean software.
Yeah, they really rose to it.
Yeah. Now, the PC Engine version was published by Taito. The TurboGrafx-16 version was published by Working Designs.
Oh, yeah.
Which they have quite a name in the TurboGrafx-16 world. The designer of this game was Kataru Uchimura, and he did Bubble Bobble and Liquid Kids, one of your favorites.
Yeah, and a lot of acid, presumably.
Yep. The programmer was Haru Suzuki, He did the TurboGrafx 16 port of Ninja Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And he did the Game Gear port of Rastan. We talked about Rastan.
I don't think I played
week.
the Game Gear port.
We'd have to, maybe on a future disaster stream when you focus on the Game Gear.
Good idea, Bo.
Yeah. The graphics were done by Kishi Ito. I don't know quite how to say that.
I think you get dead on.
He did one of my favorite games, and this is a shoot. The Flintstones or the Rescue of Dino and Hoppy. Or Dino and Hoppy for the NES. I love that game.
Super rare?
No, that's the second one.
Oh, okay.
Rescue at Dinosaur Peak.
Yes.
And the sound was done by Yasuko Yamada, who also worked on the Flintstones games. And he also worked on an arcade game, which I just had to mention because the name of the arcade game is Violence Fight.
I've played that.
Have you?
I've played Violence Fight. It's not that good.
Would have never guessed a game called Violence Fight might not be good.
Yeah, it's sort of derivative, but right.
So settle in, Aaron.
Okay, I'm in, man.
And let me tell you the lore behind Rainbow
I've been
Islands.
dying to hear this.
Okay, once, long ago, there was a courageous warrior that entered a cave of monsters with the intent of sealing it forever.
Yeah.
Okay? He did it. He sealed off
That
the
sucked. That's all there was to it.
And that's it. Game over. No, what happened was one monster escaped.
No, there's always one.
There's always one, okay? After a while, the monster grew, and he grew big, and he grew mean.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And he grew strong enough to break the power of that warrior's magic seal, and so all the monsters got out.
Okay.
Okay?
Man.
That monster, who became known as Chaosixstan. That's right. I did not mispronounce it.
Like
Chaosixstan. That's right.
Chaos, okay.
It's Chaosixstan. You don't want to live there.
No.
Okay.
Oh, maybe. It might be cool.
You sort of already do.
Yeah.
Chaosixstan unleashed the monsters within the cave on the world once again.
Yeah.
Okay?
What a jerk.
So, while all this was happening, Bubby and Bobby, our heroes, had won the admiration of the villagers of Rainbow Islands by defeating the enemies terrorizing their planet.
Yeah.
Okay?
The planet.
Yeah. Okay. So the Rainbow Islands, that was a planet-wide saving.
Are they on a different planet than us?
Yes.
Okay.
They're on a different planet.
All
okay.
right.
So what happened was after they did this, to show their appreciation, the citizens of this planet gave Bubby and Bobby these magic parasols.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. Of course.
Now, in the months that followed, Bub and Bob were so intent on learning to harness the power of the magic parasol, they didn't notice the menacing presence that was overtaking the neighboring planets.
Oh.
They were too busy training with the parasol.
So the people of the Rainbow Island planet have interstellar travel.
That's true.
Okay.
That's what they do.
You wouldn't have expected that given looking at them.
Yeah. I mean, they're wise beyond their years.
Yeah, they look dopey.
Yeah. So one day they received an emergency distress signal from one of the nearby planets.
Yeah.
And even though they hadn't quite mastered the techniques of the magic parasol, they sucked it up and disappeared into the skies above Rainbow Island, unaware of the danger and size of their new quest.
I see. So did they use the parasols to actually get to the other planet?
You're watching it right there.
You're right. They did use
it's
them.
It's a magic parasol.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Weird.
So your job is to travel from planet to planet, eradicating the alien forces.
This is much more sinister than I thought when I was playing it. It just seems sort of cutesy.
It's got a dark side. Okay. So this game takes place on a number of different worlds. There are 10 total worlds, but only 8 are regularly playable. And each planet is called a star, which doesn't make any sense. But that's just what it is. Yeah. So you got your musical star, which is the first world. Second world, wood star. Machine star, gamble star.
Man,
I didn't make it to gamble star.
I was a gamble star one time, but I thought I was. Then I sobered up.
And then there's even more worlds that are unlockable.
Oh, man.
Okay? If you get the star miracle, you can get a key which will let you into World 9 and World 10.
Oh, man.
World 10, you need the Key Book of Death.
Key book?
The Key Book of Death. It's a key and it's also a book of death.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sort of like something like magic spells in the book.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Exactly. Okay.
Like the Necronomicon.
Yeah. So I just told you the lore of this game. What did you think the story was?
Well, it's hard to get the 3 games in a row. So, but I will say the story of this game I thought a little geek with an umbrella fought Freaky crap as he was coming down from a drug high. That's my guess. Because look at the crap that's going on during your speech. It's madness. Like
I've talked a lot about sort of the basic premise of this game and the mechanics.
Yeah.
Tell me what actually goes on in this game.
So you play, or actually you play 1 or 2 people.
Yep.
Which is, you got to give them that.
Yeah.
And you've got the magic umbrella, and you're basically being besieged by various freaks, okay? And it's your job to vanquish them with the parasol. Now, when I first started playing this, I didn't realize you got moves. I just thought you just whack them, you're done.
You got tons of moves.
So you can whack them, and then once you whack them, or sometimes you have to whack them a couple times, they'll be stunned. Then you can sort of whack them, give a good whack, and they'll take out other suckers in a row, right? Then I got to this level where the suckers were in like this maze. I was like, how do you get in there? And they kept coming out and killing me. Well, obviously Liquid Kids took some inspiration from this because there's dripping water, and if you hold, I think is it down or up with your joystick?
It's down with the button.
And the water will accumulate. And it's not just water, but we'll get to that. And if you get enough water, a big, huge wad of water will accumulate. Is that right? A wad?
It's the WOD.
And then it goes down the drain, and it sweeps these suckers out like trash in the gutter. You know what I mean? There's also areas where you can get like lightning, for example, and you can hold that up there, and then you can give somebody the old shot. But you're continuously getting bombarded by these guys. The screen is full of stuff all the time. So if you're like me, and you're like, what's good, what's bad, what's happening? This guy's purple, this guy's green, what's going on? That's pretty much the way I spent my time early on.
That's a good summary. So let's talk about the parasol, all the different things the parasol can do.
Yeah.
Okay? It can block enemies. It can stun enemies. You can use it to capture enemies and hold them aloft above your head.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
You can use it to throw enemies and throw items. You can also use your parasol to slow your fall. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So there's tons of things. This has got to be the most versatile accessory of all time.
It is sort of like the penguin. You're right.
Yeah. So now, the enemies that are on each one of these worlds, these are, like you said, they're freaks, okay?
They're cute freaks, but they're freaks.
Yeah. You've got stars, fish, rabbits, clowns. I mean, almost anything that's conceivable.
Musical weapons, musical pianos, and drums.
Everything is here. Everything is here. There's cats,
like bears,
unicorns, bears. There's a one-man band a la Dick Van Dyke at the beginning of Mary Poppins.
Except he's evil.
So there's tons of stuff, and this is a game that features boss fights. Okay, you've got this, and to call this a single screen platformer is sort of a misnomer because the screen does scroll. There is limited horizontal scrolling that goes on here.
Plus, it's got the Pac-Man effect when you jump at the bottom.
Right, and so you are in a confined space like a maze, but like you said, you can jump down at the bottom and come up at the top, and you can scroll left and right, but at some point it doesn't have infinite scrolling. You're going to hit a wall, okay? So, the final boss of this game, Chaosic Stan.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You are given a special weapon, and then if you beat him, it actually, Chaosic Stan reveals his true form, Aaron.
Oh, man.
This is what always happens in these games.
We're going to spoil it for everybody watching.
The true form comes out. And meteors are rained down on the player. Chaosic Stan, he definitely lives up to his name. He looks like a sort of, deformed starfish.
He looks like Ukla the Mock with extra arms, but he's still kind of teddy bearish.
Yeah. You kind of want to give him a hug.
How can he be that weird looking and still be kind of cute?
It's weird.
It's like a satanic Teddy Ruxpin.
You also fight Chaosic Stan in what appears to be a chapel because there's a stained glass window of a cross in the back.
Who knows what kind of crazy religion they've got on this planet.
That's true. After he's defeated, Chaosic Stan drops a large magic wand, and that wand is what Bubby and Bobby use to free the world from monsters.
The old wand.
That's
usually what does it.
That's right. So, now let's talk about a little bit more about how the enemies are actually defeated in this game. Okay? So this game is not a game where you just hit an enemy with a parasol and it goes away. What happens is when you hit an enemy, it becomes stunned, okay, and it changes color. So it'll change, a lot of times it's green. And stunned enemies, you can touch them and you can't die, but you can also pick them up with your parasol. You can remove them by throwing the enemy. If you don't get rid of an enemy, it will come back to life, sort of like the turtles in Mario Brothers. And so if you can pick them up and toss them away, and the way that you score big points in this game is that you line up a ton of enemies. You get them all down there on one of the bottom rows. You stun an enemy and you knock them all out. It's a tremendous visual explosion that happens. Score goes everywhere.
It's very gratifying.
Yeah, tons of popsicles and other types of candy appear.
Yeah.
Like you said, this is a game that if you like having tons of stuff on the screen going on all the time, this is the game for you. This might be the busiest game I've ever played.
Duncan called this a dialed back top banana.
Yes, I would call this
wow, that's a comparison that shouldn't be made. This game is not that bad.
Now, like you said, you also another big feature of the parasol is that you use it to collect water that's constantly dripping down. When you collect 5 drops of water, it become a megawatt of water, as you said, and then that's what unleashes the gutter cleaning, where you go up to the top of the level and water just flows down every available surface, sweeping away all of the enemies below it.
Yeah.
Okay, there are 4 drop types. There's regular water, there's lightning, there's fire, and there's star. Okay, and if you retrieve a potion item on the boss round, you can actually create, and I did this, you can create and collect drops simply by holding up your parasol. So there's an item in this game called the potion, and you can create infinite droplets of water if you collect it before you go to the boss. And I used that to defeat that first level boss. So that is the Parasol Stars game. Aaron, tell me, what did you like? What did you not like?
You know, I've never liked this game, as you know. But, as I'm prone to do, I don't like to snap to judgment on things. And I know, much like the other games in this series, which also I'm not a big fan of, people love this game. And it was real popular amongst a certain type of people. And so I wanted to give this the college try. And I will say, I had more time too. I had more success and more fun with it than I have in the past. I still prefer the similar gameplay that's in Liquid Kids, because I like the scrolling setup. I don't like the single or almost single screen stuff. With that said, it is fun when you learn how to use. It's funny, the description said where they didn't know how to use the umbrella, but they were learning. That's the way I felt. Like, you're right. It does slow you. I didn't even think about it. It slows you down when you fall, and you can use it as a shield. It does a lot of stuff. And you need it to, because you are perpetually under the gun in this. This game has the Zool problem, though. There is too much on the screen. Too much stuff on the screen. Now, I can forgive it a little bit more than a game like Zool or Super Frog, where there's just inundated. But, I mean, there's so much stuff concentrated in this little area that it's so chaotic that unless you really have to get good quick, or you'll just get overwhelmed. That's just, and I managed to get decently through the game, and I beat a boss. I felt pretty good about myself, but there's so much going on. Even you have to admit you can be overwhelmed by the chaos.
Oh, absolutely. That's my big problem with this game, is there's too much stuff in too small of a space. I really feel like after Bubble Bobble and after Rainbow Islands, they just felt like they had to turn everything up to 11, which is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they realized that the arcade market by 1991 wasn't ready for another game, or it wasn't the right time for a game that looked like this. The arcade world had moved on.
Yeah.
And so they brought this out on the home systems. Now, I will say, for a home release, this is an arcade quality home release.
They could have released this, with obviously what you said in mind. This could have been in an arcade cabinet. I always thought it was an arcade machine until you schooled me. I thought it was in the arcade for the longest time.
Why would you not think so? When Bubble Bobble and Rainbow because Rainbow Islands was in the arcade too.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And this, you could say this is the perfect port of a game that doesn't exist.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this game was never released in the United States. This game was only released this was released in the United States on the TurboGrafx 16, but none of the other ports were released on these shores. The Ocean developed games were released in Europe. Most people tend to think that the TurboGrafx 16, the original version, is the best version. I will say that I played every version that was available, which I believe, actually I don't know if I'm never sure if that's the case, but I played this, I played the NES version, I played the ST version and the TurboGrafx 16 version. I will say the TurboGrafx 16 version does look a little bit better. The colors are a little bit better. I think that's just the case of the TurboGrafx 16 being able to generate better colors than an OCS ECS Amiga. But the gameplay was just the same. Looking at the NES version, this is not the version that you want to play if you want to go to town with this thing. I can see why they chose not to release this in North America. For one, the American market tired of single screen platformers much sooner than the European market did. Rainbow Islands was not the hit in America that it was in Europe. And two, the NES the colors that really are the draw in this game just don't look very good. Everything just looks kind of bland. It looks a lot like a Commodore 64 game, don't you think?
I mean, I've never played this on the NES. This is really the first time I sit down and looked at it. But I mean, I'm surprised that they didn't do a better job. I mean, and maybe they knew it was going to be a limited release. They didn't want to waste time on it. But I mean, would you not agree that the NES could absolutely at least match the Amiga version?
I would think that it could get closer. If it couldn't match it, it could have at least gotten closer.
How did they release Rainbow Islands? And I know they released Bubble Bobble. How close did they come? Were they pretty close?
Boy, I'm going to have to take some more time to look at it because I don't know if I've ever looked to see if there was.
Maybe they didn't release it. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I was surprised with the quality of this one. It may play well, but I mean, I was surprised. And I also wonder if it supports simultaneous two players because the setup doesn't necessarily look like it does, but who knows? But yeah, I would stick with the Amiga. I don't know. You're going to be hard pressed to do better. They did a good job on it.
Yeah. Now, this game reviewed very, very well. Scores in the 80s and 90s all across the board. Even Amiga Joker gave it an 80.
Wow.
So you know that it's pretty good. I guess Amiga Computing did dip its toe into the 79 read, but most of the scores in the 90s or the high 80s. This game, like I said, it was released in 1991. This was a big year for game releases. Now, I know the Amiga version came out in 92, but I mean, going up against Sonic, Super Mario World, Street Fighter II, Link to the Past.
Things have changed.
Yeah. And so I can see why they weren't itching to bring this, to possibly waste money on an American release.
If you think about it, in that context, this would explain why we got a Liquid Kids, for example.
Right.
Those are more in line with the way games were going.
Exactly.
A game with a level that had a beginning and an end that you traversed along, and they tried to keep the same, sort of visual effects and sort of the same sort of gameplay in a different sort of game format. So yeah, that when you say it like that makes a lot more sense to me, Bode.
Yeah. We got one Discord review this week, Aaron. From Lord Soup. Lord Soup says, Rainbow Islands and Bubble Bobble got together and their baby was more than the sum of their parts. Not enough people played this bundle of joy. Such fun. It's not by any means perfect. It's no Mario, but it's hella fun. Taito kicking Heine. A great game, 9 out of 10.
How do you see this one, Bud? I mean, I know you don't like this as much as the other two, but I mean, do you enjoy playing this a lot?
No.
Really?
I would rather not play this game. I think that it's, in terms of single screen platformers, I like almost everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll play this game, but I would much rather play Bubble Bobble. I'm not the biggest fan of Rainbow Islands either. So,
I think this is a game that if you are someone that gets really, I think there's a learning curve here that probably a lot of people wouldn't even come close to getting. And I think if you're a real good player that spends a lot of time on it, this would be a lot of fun to watch. A real experienced player tear it up.
Yes. And I have seen some experienced players, as we're watching right now, doing real good. And it is amazing because, like you said, learning how to use the Parasol is a skill.
Yeah.
And I appreciate games that do give you that sort of multiple ways to play. And so this is a game that is worth checking out if you've never played it. Yeah. It's a game worth playing.
It's a beauty.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
Welcome to Retro Rewind. I'm your host, British Jones. Whether you're into the Amiga, Commodore 64, or Tiger floral print speed suits, Retro Rewind has all you need from the friendly hosers of the Great White North. Looking to upgrade your Amiga? Check out the Amiga OS 3.2.2 Kickstart ROM for just $18. Or maybe you need a C64 or C128 diagnostic harness. Grab one while they're hot. Don't miss our best sellers like the 1541 Transit Card for just $1, or the incredible Amiga coin cell battery adapter. Shop now at Retro Rewind Limited and bring your classic computers back to life. Retro Rewind Limited. Frank's the man.
All right, Aaron, we've reached the end of yet another episode of the Amigos Summer of Arcade. We've pre-recorded these episodes for release in July as we are off gallivanting about during the summer holidays.
I love Summer of Arcade. I'm having a lot of fun trying these out. These have been fun so far.
Absolutely. So, Aaron, what are we playing next time?
Well, both Summer of Arcade, and part of the fun is we don't tell you what we're playing.
That's right.
Who knows? But it's going to be from the arcade. That's for darn sure.
That's right. So tune in next week for another great episode of the Amigos Summer of Arcade. Until then,
Adios.
Amigos is made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/AmigosPodcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.